48% from 1997 to 2000. Last year, there were a record 431 of them, more than one a day. The National Transportation Safety Board has been pushing the FAA to do more to fight the problem.
We are lucky that we've not had a large number of runway incursions with a large loss of life, but that's not to say it couldn't happen.
And just this week, the chairman of an aviation subcommittee blasted the FAA for yet another delay in implementing a system that would warn controllers of potential collisions. Charlie?
Lisa Stark in Washington. A story tonight on what one doctor calls the biggest step forward in the treatment of heart disease in 20 years. And it is so simple. 61 million Americans have some form of heart disease. Research findings published today in the New England Journal of Medicine say 1 in 5 heart attacks or deaths from heart disease could be prevented by taking 2 pills. And one of those is aspirin. ABC's Dan Harris reports.
Doctors have known for years that aspirin can help people with heart problems. The new study shows that combining the blood-thinning drug Plavix with aspirin can, for certain patients, make the treatment much more powerful. Researchers looked at patients who had either recently had a heart attack or who were on the verge of a heart attack. By some estimates, there are more than 1 million Americans who fit this description. Patients who took aspirin and Plavix were 20% less likely to die, have a heart attack, or a stroke.
We can avoid many tens of thousands of death, strokes, and heart attacks, unnecessary death, strokes, and heart attacks, by the implementation of this simple tablet regimen.
The drugs work by preventing blood clots in the arteries, which cause clogging. Yvonne Arnold was just diagnosed with heart disease.
I'm taking the 2 drugs, which is keeping the arteries open and the blood flowing freely. What more can you ask for?
There are, however, side effects to be aware of. Since these drugs prevent clogging, they can also create bleeding, both internally and externally. Some of the patients involved in the study experienced enough bleeding to require transfusions. Dr. Jonathan Halperin, a cardiologist at Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York, acknowledges this issue.
But you need to balance that against the risk of other things that would happen, like heart attacks, strokes, or being dead, that occur if you don't take this treatment.
The risk exists, he says, as it does with all medical treatments. In this case, however, most experts agree the risk is far outweighed by the benefits. Dan Harris, ABC News, New York.
2 other items in the medical file tonight. A new study by Carnegie Mellon University finds that car pollution kills more people than traffic accidents. Researchers looked at 4 cities, New York, Mexico City, Santiago, and Sao Paulo. They estimate that reducing air pollution in those cities alone could save 64,000 lives over the next 20 years. The Centers for Disease Control warns that 100 million people in the country are at high risk for dental disease due to a lack of fluoride in their drinking water. Fluoride can prevent and even reverse tooth decay. In Washington today, there was something of a budget bombshell, and it's of interest to everyone in the country who pays taxes. The Bush administration says it has found $4.3 billion of your money in the federal budget that wasn't there before. The administration says it comes from using a different accounting system. ABC's John Cochran is with the president in Crawford, Texas. And John, the Democrats are screaming that it's not new accounting, that the Republicans have dipped into Social Security money.
Well, Charlie, the counter-argument from the Bush White House is that past presidents, including Republican presidents, have used the wrong accounting system, that under their system, the money would have been credited erroneously to the Social Security Trust Fund. Instead, the money can now be used for tax cuts and spending. And, Charlie, it's money that the Bush administration really needs.
Well, they need it, John, because they're strapped because of the tax cut.
Not just tax cuts, but tax revenue, which is down because the economy is down. And next week, the White House will predict that economic growth will rise to 3.2% from the present 1.7%. If the White House is right, tax revenue will go up. If the White House is wrong, big trouble, Charlie.
All right, thanks very much. John Cochran with the president down in Crawford, Texas. In the national briefing today, a tropical storm is heading toward the eastern Caribbean and the southern U.S. It's moving at almost twice the speed of a normal tropical storm, and forecasters say it could become a hurricane within the next day or so. Another sign of bad times in the airline industry, Northwest Airlines says it stopped serving children's meals on its domestic flights in an effort to save money. U.S. Airlines had their largest monthly revenue drop during May in more than 2 decades. And in Tennessee, the world's longest yard sale, 450 miles of things you don't really need. The sale originally began as a way to draw people from the interstate to less traveled roads. We take a break. When we come back, in the heat of battle.
Well, if we get this line tied in, then that'll effectively stop this side of the fire.
We're going to take a closer look at the firefighters who were on the front line. The Queen reportedly gives Prince Charles permission to marry his longtime companion. Is Britain ready to accept the other woman? And the disaster at Devil's Lake, the land that's being swallowed by water.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Ditech.com.
Have you gotten yourself into too much credit card debt? You may be able to point and click your way out with a second mortgage from Ditech.com. Whether you have equity or no equity, Ditech has a second mortgage with a no closing cost option that may help lower your monthly payments. Why pay minimum monthly payments when you can pay off your high interest debt with a second mortgage from Ditech.com? For fast, friendly service, apply online or call us at 1-800-71-FIX now.
I'm the bus lady. Some mornings I was so constipated I could hardly drive my kids to school. I felt bloated, all knotted up. But mornings now are different.
Good morning.
Thanks to new X-Lax Milk of Magnesia. It's gentle, stimulant-free, cramp-free, which means a good night's sleep. Plus that X-Lax guarantee of relief by 8 a.m., which means a good morning.
Max, great hat.
New X-Lax Milk of Magnesia with the X-Lax Good Morning Guarantee.
Once you pass 50, skincare's a whole new game.
L'Oreal introduces age-perfect anti-sagging and rehydrating treatment.
Because mature skin has issues all its own. It starts to sag, loses resiliency, and needs more moisture.
Age-perfect actually improves skin's resiliency, tightening its network as it deeply rehydrates. So effective, in only 2 weeks, 83% of women reported more resilient skin.
Today, this is what mature skin looks like.
New Age-perfect, only from L'Oreal Paris.
It's an innovation for mature skin.
Imagine combining the stain-fighting power of Efferdent and freshening power of Listerine. You'd get Efferdent Plus. It's extra fresh, and nothing gets your dentures cleaner. Efferdent Clean, Listerine Fresh. That's Efferdent Plus.
The long jump. The dash. Life is like a sport, and your feet take the impact hard. But new Stride Guard insoles absorb 50% more heel impact than these Dr. Scholl's. Take more impact in stride. New Stride Guard insoles.
Last night, we had an inside view on the effort to stop the western wildfires as ABC's David Wright made it to the front lines near Rouge, Oregon. Well, the firefighters' work doesn't end when the sun sets. If anything, it gets harder. So we're going to take a closer look at the 1,200 firefighters who spent last night laying a trap for what's called the Quartz Mountain Fire. And David Wright was with them.
The night shift begins at 5:30 p.m. with a briefing.
We're going to move crews around to the east side of the fire.
Updates on crew assignments, on the critical weather forecast, and on the fire's behavior.
The big fuels are really, really dry, so you're going to have to use a lot of water on them.
These 1,200 journeyman firefighters are all experienced. Many have worked together before, but organizing them is a complicated task because no two nights on the fire line are the same. The night shift can get closer to the fire than the crews working during the daytime heat. After dark, the temperature drops by as much as 50 degrees.
The fire made a big run today. Guys up there now checking to see if it compromised our ridge.
But before they can fight the fire, the Wainema hotshots must first climb a 6,000-foot mountain in the pitch black. 9 o'clock, and the fire is just 500 feet to the west, close enough to hear it crackle. Little energy for small talk now. They're tired, they're thirsty, their feet hurt, and the real work is just getting started. The Wainema crew widens the path. By morning, the trail itself will be the fire line. At the top of the ridge, another crew, the Graybacks, are just beginning their work.
It's almost midnight. It's such a long walk in here that by the time you get in here, you only have 5 or 6 hours to work.
The Graybacks' job to burn out the brush between the trail and the fire, pouring on a flaming mixture of gas and diesel fuel. It may seem counterintuitive, fighting a forest fire by essentially pouring gasoline on it. And once this dry brush burns out, the fire will have no place to go. Taming the wildfire one ridge at a time. For these men and women, just another 12-hour day on the job. David Wright, ABC News at the Quartz Mountain Fire in Oregon.
Tonight's Closer Look. When we return, reports of a royal nod. Queen Elizabeth II reconsiders the idea of a second marriage.
Members of the House of Commons.
Looking for a quiet moment? Get a quieter cookie. Soft, fruit chewy Fig Newtons. Time out from the everyday crunch.
In the old days, athlete's foot meant using Lotrimin AF or Tenactin for 4 whole weeks.
Who does that? Today, Lamisil AT kills the fungus with just 1 week's use.
And keeps you athlete's foot free for 3 months.
Lamisil AT, the best way to cure athlete's foot.
You're looking for a home. You're searching. There are questions. Where do you start? You can search over 1.3 million current home listings. Click onto Realtor.com. Check info on schools and financing. Even take a virtual tour. And when you're ready, you can click and connect with a realtor. Realtor.com. It's the place to start when you start looking for a home.
Who'd you expect? Bob Dole?
Follow Mark Martin and the Viagra racing team this season.
Get to your doctor for a checkup and find out if a free sample of Viagra is right for you.
And for more information right now, race over to Viagra.com.
Dogs love home cooking, or new pedigree little champions. Gently prepared, then sealed in our revolutionary flavor lock pouch. For the home-cooked taste dogs love.
Yeah. What are you doing there?
I'll be right there.
Just because you're strong doesn't mean you can't be gentle. That's also true of Imodium. It works on diarrhea often in just 1 dose. Yet Imodium is gentle on your system. Gentler than you thought. Effective as you think. Imodium AD.
2-Minute Drill is back, Tuesdays at 7 p.m., hosted by Kenny Mayne. And now it's easier to play at home, but the questions are just as tough. Have you got the answer?
Prince Charles and Camilla, publicly a royal item, and now they say the Queen has given her nod. Are royal wedding bells in their future? Good Morning America goes straight to the source tomorrow.
In the overseas briefing tonight, President Bush called Israel's Prime Minister Ariel Sharon today to talk about the violence in the Middle East. The White House says both leaders agreed on the need to avoid escalating the conflict, but Israel said it would continue to go after specific Palestinian targets. In Sudan, the president of that country ordered the country's men to take more than 1 wife in order to double the population. President Omar Hassan al-Bashir said they should ignore international family planning policies, and the men in Sudan are allowed up to 4 wives. The balloonist, Steve Fawcett, has now passed the halfway mark in his attempt to make the first round-the-world solo flight. He had a bumpy ride over the Andes Mountains this morning and at one point put on his parachute, but he made it. In Great Britain, so much is written about the royals. Most of it gossip, speculation, but there is one magazine that most British believe is used by the royal family to get their viewpoint out. And that magazine has now published an article saying the Queen, reluctantly, will let Prince Charles marry Camilla Parker Bowles. Britain is abuzz. Here's ABC's Richard Gisbert.
According to reliable sources, there are changes afoot in the palace.
The Spectator, a magazine with impeccable royal contacts, reports the Queen has come around, somewhat grudgingly, to the idea of Prince Charles marrying Camilla Parker Bowles.
It's the first sign of movement from the Queen, not based on the long-term happiness of the Prince of Wales. That's never been the central preoccupation. She's interested in the survival of the royal family.
When the British were mourning Princess Diana's death, many said they would never accept Charles marrying the other woman. But over time, they've got used to the idea, partly because of Charles's carefully choreographed PR campaign. In January 1999, 16 months after Diana's funeral, Charles and Camilla made their first public appearance as a couple, and it was a big deal here. A year and a half later, their second public function together. That, too, made headlines. Then, this summer, Charles and Camilla exchanged their first public kiss. What it lacked in passion, it made up for in news value. Today's story also caused a big splash in the tabloids. But if this was a trial balloon from the palace, the word on the street is not everyone is ready.
What do you think of that?
Oh dear, never. The British would never accept it.
The betting is that Camilla will get the ring, probably in 2003, but she'll never get the crown, that as a divorced woman, she won't be made queen. But coming up with another title for her won't be a problem. The British do it all the time. Something a little less majestic than queen, perhaps. Something a little more dignified than the other woman. Richard Gisbert, ABC News, London.
And when we come back, a town tries to defend itself against the attack of the incredible expanding lake.
If something isn't done, potentially we could lose the city of Devil's Lake.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but the pain comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may think you know about acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
Now the makers of Prilosec introduced their new purple pill, Nexium. Just 1 prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with the new purple pill called Nexium.
Nature made it. Minwax makes it beautiful with rich wood stains and long-lasting protective finishes. Turning a house into a beautiful home is as easy as turning to Minwax.
How can parents help keep their kids from smoking?
First of all, talk to us about it.
And once just isn't enough.
Remember, we have to deal with smoking all the time.
Tell us that you don't approve of smoking.
Remind us what smoking can do to our health.
Don't threaten, and don't jump to conclusions.
You can't decide for us, but you can't help us make the right decisions.
And one more thing, don't do all the talking. Listen too.
Talk to your kids about not smoking. They'll listen.
Now, the same caltrate that helps fight bone loss may help your colon, too. In a recent study, caltrate helped reduce the risk of recurrence of colon polyps, a risk factor for colon cancer. The same caltrate you take for your bones, now for colon health, too.
You go first. I think you are.
Being first is never easy. Will I make it? Will I be laughed at? Will it be worth it?
I'm Steve Dunn. Coming up next on KATU News, hundreds of firefighters join the battle as wildfires bear down on an Oregon ranching community. We'll have a live report. It's alleged to have caused the choking deaths of small children. Tonight, a brand of gel candy comes off supermarket shelves. And get a bird's eye view of Oregon's aerial firefight. KATU News is next.
It's a little pink pill aggressively marketed to millions of women, but some say what it's supposed to treat doesn't even exist. Is it misleading medicine? Watch World News tonight.
Finally tonight, it sounds like a creature from a horror novel. Quietly, mysteriously, Devil's Lake has been growing and growing, swallowing up more than 60,000 acres of North Dakota. Hundreds of years ago, settlers called it Bad Spirit, and there are legends of underwater monsters and drowned warriors. But today, it's simply homeowners who are afraid. ABC's Dean Reynolds is there.
For Bob and Carol Gibson, life on Devil's Lake has been hell.
Our first house was approximately 200 yards off of the edge of that tree that's standing out there, to the right 50 yards.
5 years ago, they moved their house to a spot they thought was well offshore.
So they said, 1 chance in a million, it'll never hit you again.
Never hit you again?
Yeah.
The lake now covers that spot, too, just as it does many more here.
Behind me, there were streets, paved streets. There was about 43 homes in this area here that were moved.
400 homes in all have had to be moved because since 1993, Devil's Lake has more than tripled in size, swamping prime farmland, marooning homesteads, flooding major highways, and drowning more than 1 million trees. A city of 7,500 people could go under.
Without the dike here, Devil's Lake, the city behind us here, we'd have about 23 feet of water heading towards the city of Devil's Lake.
It has been unusually wet here for 8 years, and they expect it to stay that way for another decade. As the lake has risen 25 feet, $400 million has been spent shoring up the area with dikes and raised roads.
Most maps of this area put Minnewacan, North Dakota, 8 miles west of Devil's Lake. But as you can see, those maps need revising because the lake has come to Minnewacan.
Now, Devil's Lake officials want to spend another $100 million on a new channel to drain water from the lake into the Red River. But some cities downstream worry that they then might be flooded. But if nothing is done, the lake will just keep expanding, and in a few years could easily be 3 times as big as it is today. The Gibsons aren't waiting for that. They've moved their house again, but this time, they're taking no chances. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Devil's Lake, North Dakota.
They have moved to much higher ground. One other note tonight, at Andrews Air Force Base today, the bodies of some Marines from World War II arrived home after almost 60 years. They were part of a unit that gave America hope during one of the bleakest moments of World War II, and tomorrow on this broadcast, we will tell their story because they will be buried tomorrow. I'm Charles Gibson. We hope you have a good evening. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tonight, while everyone else airs repeats, Primetime's got a new story you have to see to believe. For years, she lived in darkness. Doctors said her sight was gone for good, until the one moment she says a miracle happened. Primetime tonight.